molded.
Just do it.
And just like that, you have a clear lens.
What are we doing today, Justin?
So today we're gonna be doing clear lens. I don't have a clear lens.
Clear lens.
My name is Justin, I work for Illumaesthetic, and today we're gonna be doing one of the most requested videos, which is how to make clear lenses. You're gonna need the lens, tail light lens that you're gonna be using. Today we're doing MKV Supras, and you could either use some leftover acrylic like this, or wood, cut to size. Usually we'd be using Lego bricks to make the walls, since the lens is way too long, so we won't be using this today. Silicone-free clay and protective wear. Gloves, mask, and
Especially for you, right? Because you're allergic.
not to silicone, but to the resin.
Oh, okay. Not
These
just that.
guys.
Oh, okay, okay.
And a release agent for the silicone. I forgot what these are called, but acrylic sticks. The bigger one is used for a pore hole. Smaller sticks are used for like air holes, so it'll be easier. So we won't be getting air bubbles and other stuff. So before we start building the walls, what you're gonna want to do with the lens, especially for this one, since it's curved and like an awkward shape, you want it to be as level as possible. So we're gonna use a piece of clay to make it as level as possible. You want to have space underneath the lens, so it's like basically floating in the air. That's where silicone is gonna be going. You're gonna want to start building the walls. We're gonna be using leftover acrylic instead of Legos. If you're using Legos, it would take a really, really long time, especially for a longer lens like this. And for spacing in between the walls, since you're gonna be putting clay, you want at least a 2 to 3 finger gap between the lens and the walls. So now that the walls are done, make sure the lens is in the middle of the walls, and make sure it's the right height. Now we're gonna start filling it up with clay all around. The reason why we're filling up the clay is so it'll have negative space. The clay will be the negative space for the silicone. So right now we're only making the top part of the silicone mold.
Finally, after 3 hours, right?
After 3 hours, it's done.
It's done. The molding is completed, right?
Yeah, or not molding, but like the base for the molding.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The base for the molding. Okay.
Yeah, so what you wanted to do is like, you want it tightly packed as possible with the clay, so it doesn't, so none of the silicone seep through underneath. And you want it to be as smooth as possible, but for this one,
You gotta pack it like the meat in your freezer.
yeah. Basically. Yeah, but you want it tightly packed as possible, smooth also, and level. Next step is we're gonna take our acrylic sticks. I still don't know what they're called, but the sticks.
That's Adam. Hey Adam, what's the sticks called?
What are these called? Acrylic sticks, right? Oh. Rods, sticks, acrylic rods.
Okay.
Or sticks. I'll probably be calling them sticks.
Call it sticks. Pull it with the stick.
Yeah. One thick one, at least one thick one for the pore hole, and the other ones will be skinnier. So you want the pore hole to be at the lowest point of the lens. So for this one, it'll be, I believe right here is the lowest part. So this is gonna be the pore hole. The way you're gonna wanna stick it is probably just like hot glue it, but don't put too much that it'll be caked on to the tip of the stick, because it'll imprint on the silicone. So the pore hole will go there. And then for this one, we're probably gonna do like 4 or 5 air hole pockets. One here, one at the other end, 2 on the side and 1 right there.
Go ahead.
You don't want it caked on or it'll show in the silicone. So lowest part. Pro tip, if the sticks don't want to stay in place, use clay, put it around it. Like this. And it'll hold.
Voila.
That's the end product. Or not end product, but like
Close to end.
close to end. After this, we're just gonna do a pour, but what you're gonna wanna do next is make sure the lens, this one, the face, is as clean as possible. So we're gonna do that now, after I find my air compressor. So now that the lens is clean, next step is we're gonna start mixing the silicone and then do a pour. What is this called? Fuck.
Scale.
Scale, there you go. So what you're gonna need is a scale, enough bucket, mixing stick, and we're using a drill also for the mixing stick. And the silicone that we're gonna be using is Mold Star series, the platinum silicone one. And these are a 1-to-1 mixture. So 1-to-1 meaning if you pour 1,500 grams of part A, you have to pour 1,500 grams of part B.
Oh, look like milk. Yogurt.
I really hope you have enough. For like later. Not for the video, I have enough. It's just gonna be loud.
Go for it. Oh.
Next step, after mixing it, it'll be a light bluish color. You gotta make sure you mix it thoroughly. Yeah. Next step is we put it in a vacuum chamber to suck up all the bubbles.
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah. And you want to keep an eye on this because as it's sucking up the
It
air,
can blow up.
it could blow up. No.
Oh yeah.
As it's sucking up air, the silicone will rise up. That's how it's supposed to look like. By the way, you're supposed to be wearing a mask.
Oh, what? You should have told me that. Hold on.
Nah, this one it's just silicone. So
Oh, okay.
when you pour it, you want to be super high up, so it basically releases the air bubbles on the silicone. And you want to start the pour at the lowest point of the lens. So the pour is done. You're gonna want to do it most likely multiple times. With this, I did it 3 times. You can also use scrap silicone to save on pouring silicone. So we're gonna do that now.
It's like pizza, huh?
Yeah. Once you cut it up, you're just gonna want to stick it in. Make sure it's placed properly so it doesn't stick out. Yeah, it'll just stick it.
Well, that's crazy. It's like a black hole. Do that shit again. Oh. Black hole, bro.
Somewhat near the lens, just not on top of it because it could sink all the way and not poke out, and it'll just ruin the the mold itself. But this is on how to save on using too much silicone.
Gotcha.
So after you've post-cured it for about 12 hours, you're gonna want to demold it, take out the clay. So you're gonna want to keep the lens on there, make sure there's no air in it. Once you've demolded it, you're gonna want to, it'll be flipped like that. You're gonna want to flip it over, build the walls again, and repeat the process basically. Mix the silicone and then do another pour, and then let it post-cure for another 12 hours. And you're gonna be left with this other half. Basically, this will be on top of it. You're gonna have this other half after. That's it, you're gonna have a full silicone mold. All right, so next step, after you guys got the mold done, you're gonna wanna do the clear resin pour. The tools you're gonna need are basically a scale, mixing cup, mixing straws or sticks, vacuum pot, pressure pot, mold, and we have it over here, the resin that we're gonna use. All right, first step is you're gonna wanna clean your mold. Make sure there's no debris in the mold because once it's in there and you do a pour, it'll show. Make sure there's no scratches on the mold. Any debris, just blow it out with compressed air. Make sure it's clean, alcohol, wipe it. That's the first step. Second step is you're gonna wanna get your mixing cups ready and the clear resin you're gonna use. We're gonna be using Crystal Clear 202 Part A and Part B. I believe it's a 9-to-1 mixture. So pour Part A and Part B to whatever measurements you guys got, and we're gonna be using whatever measurements we have for today's lenses, which is the Supra Mark V. After pouring and measuring, you're gonna wanna put those 2 cups, Part A and Part B, into the vacuum pot and let it sit in the vacuum pot for about a minute to a minute and a half, or until when the bubbles disperse. After that, you're gonna wanna take your third mixing cup and put it again on the scale. Make sure your measurements are correct when you're pouring Part A and Part B into it, and then just mix it. Mix it really, really well until like the resin is clear, but you can't mix it for more than, I believe, a minute. You have to be done before the minute ends because it'll harden already. After mixing it, put your funnel into the mold and start pouring. After pouring, you're gonna wanna put some weights. It's optional. You don't really have to put weights, but it's optional. In this case, we're putting it because it's such a big lens. For smaller lenses, you wouldn't really need it. Put the weights and carry it into the pressure pot. For the pressure pot, you want it to be at 60 psi for it to push out all the air bubbles out of the resin mold. And you let it sit there for about 2 to 3 hours, more or less. Maybe a little more if the molds or the lenses you're trying to make is bigger. After the 2 to 3 hours, you're gonna wanna pull it out and put it into the oven. You wanna be very careful because it could crack inside. Like I said, it doesn't fit in our oven. Our oven's too small. So we're gonna be using a fiberglass blanket to keep all the heat inside. Make sure you wear gloves because fiberglass. Cover it up. For post curing, it'll take about 2 to 3 hours. This one might take a little longer just because it, like I said, sticks out. So we just wait and we'll film again after. So now that it's done post curing, take this out, put it off to the side. Be careful, it's gonna be hot. Take it out. Oh. You're gonna want to put it on a flat surface and let it cool down. Depending on how hot it is, it'll take a while for it to cool down. But this one will probably take about an hour and a half.
God damn.
It's a lot of waiting. An hour later, you're gonna want to demold it. You want to be very, very careful demolding it because now it's already, the resin's already hard and stuff. There's a chance of it cracking. Molded.
Just do it.
And just like that, you have a clear lens. You just want to clean it up and then put it on whatever car you have.
Hey.
Just like that. That's how to make a clear lens.
Yeah. Okay. Any last words?
Don't do this. No.
Like and subscribe.
It's very time consuming,
Yeah.
is what I want to say. It's a lot of waiting.
Nice.
Do you want those custom mods? We do it for anything you try. You want your ride to turn heads? This is where it comes alive. If you can imagine it, we can create it. Nothing is impossible with Illumaesthetic.